yesterday. Arrived yesterday. They'll be here the week of September 7th to get that thing up and running, and that'll start the 3 to 4 month pilot study process. I don't know if we'll have periodic up-to-date updates or if there can be updates during that 3 or 4 months. I don't know. If they can, then we can get McClure here to do those. Dog park, the sucker keeps getting watered and trying to get grass to grow, and we'll see. Still shooting for the September 1st, grass or not, I guess, at this point.
What happens on September 1st?
Well, that was the target date to have it open by. It's basically, it's been done, features have been installed, it's been ready. Well, no, we put tape across there, so I guess if somebody wanted to, they could, but the intent was not to use it until we had made a good faith effort to get grass to grow.
Sure.
So
Would we be wise to postpone that until next year and let winter hopefully help us with that, rather than just a whole bad scenario just getting worse or being made worse, because if you open it and now you start getting some rain, start getting grass, it gets torn up, whatever. I wonder if postponing the opening might not be, I know as a dog owner, if I was using that facility, I don't want a muddy dog coming home. I would prefer, but I guess I won't be using it. But
yeah, I don't know, at some point, yeah, we may have to make that decision. I mean, we could.
I don't know, Jason, I don't know.
You know, September is, trying to get grass to grow right now is hard. It gets better in September. I mean, September.
So how much heat would we take for postponing it?
I mean, we could, at the minimum, if we were gonna postpone it, I would, and I'm not saying that's the decision yet, but if any postponement, it might get pushed back to October 1st, maybe.
30 days.
To give us September, a little bit cooler weather hopefully, to try to get the grass to grow. And then I'm assuming maybe next council meeting, we'll take back up the discussion of PD Phase 2. The final plans are done. We're gonna have a meeting, I believe, Thursday with the architect and see if we can do something about the latest estimate. So if we get that worked out, I think we may have the architect come anyway and present the final plans, since then he was under contract to do that anyway. So we'll at least do that. Like I said, that meeting, we'll do a little talking to see if we can maybe get a little more reasonable on the price. So those are my updates. Any questions before Dave's going to give an update on how the
restroom at Cleveland is not moving very quickly.
I don't know what the problem is. I
It's,
know finally I was happy to see the walls finally got up.
Well, yeah, but that's the only thing that's happened in 3 weeks. It's the walls.
I don't know if I can believe it's a material issue.
Well, I thought we were gonna have it done in July, and then I thought August, and it ain't gonna be done in August, so somebody's.
Yeah, their hope was to be done. Yeah, well, I would have liked them out of there before.
Right.
The next portion of the project is the parking lot and some sidewalk work, and
Understand, but.
I'd like them out of there before that work started.
But that was all supposed to be done in, this year, I thought. Or this summer.
That's Bainbridge.
Bainbridge.
I just thought that was a little bad.
We'll check into that. Anything else for Jason? Or Jason, do you have anything else?
I don't.
Dave?
Dave's gonna.
Mr. Shipper? Front consent.
Mayor and council, Jason asked me to give an update today on the merger, how things are going. First, I want to thank the mayor and the council and administration for the support. Of course, my staff, with everybody that's made this work so far, our families, police and sheriff's officers, and of course the citizens. Currently, when we merged, all the ambulance people came over, and so we went up to 46 total members. 9 of those are full-time now, of the 46. And so just a few things that we were trying to accomplish with goals with the merger. First and foremost, I know it was on a lot of your minds, I think Mr. Donovan mentioned it, response time. Average response time prior to merger was 7 to 8 minutes for an ambulance to leave the facility to head to the call or leave the station. In the 141 calls I tracked, and of course we've had more than that, but of the 141 calls I tracked to the date I did this report, the first ambulance is leaving the fire station in 42 seconds on average, down from 7 to 8 minutes, and the second ambulance is down from 7 to 9 minutes to 1 minute and 10 seconds. The fire engine at the time of the merger would leave the building in 4 minutes. It's leaving the building in 1 minute and 56 seconds. So response time has been greatly diminished, and I think Chief Vandenbeck back here can attest to that. His officers have made several comments, but
We appreciate the response time that you're getting the calls, absolutely.
so it's been noticed, and even by the citizens, they've made some comments and things, and they're really appreciative, and that goes back to you folks for supporting this and doing what we needed to do, especially during the daytime hours when it's hard to get people to be able to leave work. Right now, we're averaging almost 7 calls a day, which is up, way up actually. So it's tougher and tougher when you have 4 or 5 calls during a Tuesday for people to be able to constantly leave work. So this has been a benefit. The other thing that's interesting in that response time is dispatch time to patient contact. So from the time we get called to actually hands-on treating a patient, the old average was almost 10 minutes, and we're at 3 minutes and 42 seconds. So from the time the pager goes off to the time we're actually touching, working with the patient is 3 minutes and 42 seconds. So we're greatly increasing survivability chances of our community members in their time of need.
Chief, is there anything about the increase in calls that is noticeable, or all this, it's all just a similar?
It's all over
same
the
thing?
it's all over the board, Mike, and I took out RAGBRAI. We did 20 calls in 24 hours for RAGBRAI.
Right.
Now, not all those were medical. We had a bus with a bike rack get caught in a power line and tear it down off a pole in a house, and so there was some fire calls in there too of that 20. But no, we've basically seen sporadic things all over the board, from broken bones to cardiac to you name it. So there isn't one specific problem we're having.
Nothing to adapt training or anything
No,
like that is my point.
Not
Okay,
yet,
Good,
no,
all right.
no. So I mentioned the RAGBRAI thing. The other thing was transportation. That was one of our other big issues. In the month of July, we did 45 transports, meaning transfers. We had 9 to Sioux Falls, 1 to Council Bluffs, 1 to Marcus, and 1 from Cherokee to Sioux Falls when they had an ambulance broke down and needed some help. So we helped Cherokee Hospital out, and they were very thankful of that. They had somebody that needed to go, they couldn't get a helicopter, and we took care of it for them. So we had 45 transfers. Now, we have had to turn down a few because we were already on one, and Remsen's our backup for that, and they help us out. So if our ambulance is already on the way to Sioux City or Sioux Falls and there's another one that comes in, Remsen's been picking those up. Now, hopefully with our 3rd ambulance we'll be heading in October. It's due to be here first part of October, sometime in that month, hopefully. Once that's online, we'll be able to pick up that other emergency transfer, that other need as well. Floyd Valley Hospital Healthcare has been very appreciative. They've been great to work with. We're getting to know the ER staff really well. They're very happy when they can get patients transferred out when they're in their time of need. And we've been able to do that and do the Sioux Falls runs and Jenny Ed and Council Bluffs last month and things like that. So we're getting good kudos from the hospital and the hospital staff as well. So that's a good thing. The other thing is we've been able to up our readiness, and that's the most important thing as fire chief for me, if not the main thing. Patient care is huge. That's the main thing. But just our readiness state with having people on duty. You don't have to worry about a truck not having fuel in it or walkie-talkie not working or simplistic things that sometimes get overlooked because we have duty staff checking those things every day. So they have house duties that they do, from checking an apparatus completely and fully to cleaning duties to training to putting on classes for the community to go out and do liquor inspections and things like that, plus be able to answer those emergency calls a lot faster. So things are going really, really well. We were really tested in July. Calls were way up, to the plus range of 50, 60 calls. So without the merger, I'm not sure how that would have got handled, but it got handled greatly. RAGBRAI, we saw how it could work with sharing people and sharing resources and things like that. So far, so good. In the future, I can see a need for maybe one more person per shift because 3 people on a rescue rig seems to work better than 2, just for having 2 people to be able to work on somebody in the back or lifting some of our heavier patients in and out of homes or apartments and things like that. So right now, one of the chief officers responds with that ambulance rig so that there's 3 of us there. So the 3 chiefs are rotating who does that with each shift, and that's been working really well. Of course, when we hired people, a few of them that we hired, the day they started, they were on the rig. And they might not have known the addressing of the streets and things, so some of us had to go along anyway just to make sure where's Floyd Valley Hospital, on their first day. So we've gotten through that now. They're doing really well. The new hires, the out-of-town hires that we brought in, and then our local people that we took over from the ambulance crew that merged with us. Full-time members are doing fabulous. The paramedics, we've got probably 4 or 5 of the best paramedics in the state. I really mean that. Just to watch them work at a scene, they're like an ER in the field. They're doing fabulous work, and I know ER appreciates that when we get to the hospital, and a lot of their stuff's done for them ahead of time. The nitty-gritty stuff for life or death. So that's been a pleasure for me as chief to be able to watch as well. So just a quick update. Jason asked me to provide something to you. I just wanted to let you know the response time thing that we talked about is greatly been taken care of. The transport thing has been taken care of. However, there's more to come with that as we add another ambulance in October. And the staffing that we needed to get implemented and get hired is working out very well. Next Monday, August 23rd, we have 4 individuals starting paramedic class, and they'll graduate next year, probably closer to June, the way the program looks. So that will give us 4 more paramedics. That's an accelerated class, but it takes 10 or 11 months to get through the School of EMS up in Sioux Falls. So the nice thing is they can do that online, and then they have to go up there 3 or 4 times for 3 or 4 days to do some of their skills and hands-on stuff. But Jacob Manley that we hired just finished that program in June. I ran with Jacob all day Sunday because I had a guy on vacation for a 20-year-old kid coming out of college. He was amazing. Monday we had 8 or 9 calls, and I was with him on every one. Doing really well. Everybody's doing really well. So it's been a little bit of a growing pain. We've used our ambulance people. They've been bringing ambulances to fire calls. They've been helping us on transfers to Sioux Falls and Sioux City when we need them. So it was good to see all those folks because I know they were concerned of how things were going to go, that they all came over. And we've got a pretty darn good core group right now of individuals that are giving a lot of time and effort for this city, and I can't thank them enough. So, any questions?
Any snafus, anything, any downside to it yet?
Well, we've had a few hiccups with some dispatching and paging that we were going to have to work through of what's a page just for the people on duty and what's a page for everybody. And we knew we were going to have those, and it's a simple thing as getting on the radio and saying, hey, you need to do an all call instead of a duty page, or hey, the duty staff can handle that, cancel that, I don't want 30 volunteers or paid on call people showing up. So there's been a few things, and there's going to be a few more we'll learn as we go, but we're over a month into this now, and with being thrown fireworks night and RAGBRAI and the fair and It's the most calls we've had in a month ever. I prayed to the good Lord, I said, let us merge into this real easy, or just throw us to the wolves and we'll figure it out. Well, he picked the second one, which I don't have control over that, but I wish maybe he would have picked the first one, but it actually did us a good thing. It worked out, so.
Chief, from a countywide perspective, I know that they, the EMS services throughout the county would gather and train together and things like that. Has there been any differences in that in recent time? Because as we become stronger and some of those struggle, it's worthwhile to pay attention on how people are served out there.
Yeah, they still have their county EMS meetings. Matter of fact, they have one tonight in Akron. What we're seeing, Mike, is volunteerism in general is fading off, and you know that. That's Kiwanis, that's Rotary, that's everybody's tougher to get members.
Kiwanis is doing just fine, thank you.
Did they need some members?
We're doing good.
Did they need some, Bob? They'd always take some, all right? Yeah, so would we. We've gone back now to covering Merrill 24 hours a day for fire and EMS. We cover Owens 24 hours a day now for fire and EMS. So our district has went to 200 miles of rural, which is a big rural territory now. And we have Lamar's, Merrill, Owens, Seney, Struble, and Brunsville. So we have 6 communities or villages that we cover as well. We want those people to succeed, so we are helping them. If they have staff, then we let them handle their call unless they need advanced life support. We can offer them paramedic services. However, they're having trouble getting people as well. We do joint meetings with the fire chiefs yet. We do the EMS county meetings. Some services are doing better than others in the county, but we always want them to at least have something in their communities. We'll come help them. We'll help anybody that asks, but we really don't want to see them fail. So we've been trying to help them along as well with any training needs they need or any support they can, get from us. We've been trying to do that.
Last question from me. Have you noticed or heard of any additional insights related to the meaning of emergency medical services being designated by the legislature as an essential service?
Yeah, they approved that.
Any meat on the bones yet?
Not any meat on the bones. I know the County EMS Association is talking about it. It's been discussed on, how to go forward with that, because now that allows the tax to be implemented by the county for EMS services. We've always had the rural fire taxation township rate that we provide. Right. But basically the rural folks have always been taxed, and that tax is for cemetery, for fire protection. And that's what that fund is for. Now with EMS being an essential service, there is an option in the future to have a separate tax. It'd have to be put on the ballot and voted on. I don't think Plymouth County is ready for that yet, or at that point. It's hard to say in the future which direction that will go with some of these other outlying services. I know they're looking into their options at this point, but we're baby steps right now.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else?
I can say this, that I know that personally I've had the opportunity to work with Dave and Mike Wise, and I know Jason has, and I know Jacob has. And I think this thing, if I recall right, started 2 years ago. And it was 3 main things behind this whole program. And one, and most important one, was response time to get to the patient. And number 2, due to circumstances that was beyond our control, but by the same virtue of the way the times change, was travel or transportation. And the third one was people. And I will say this, that I'm glad to hear your report, Dave. You and Mike and all the rest of them have done a tremendous job in filling that 3 things to make this be accomplished. And I want to thank you and all your employees and Mike and everybody.
Yeah, one last thing, and then I want to address something with Clark. We've actually had a couple communities now already reach out to us and ask us how we're doing this, that are in the same boat. Grinnell, Iowa being one. Grinnell, Iowa had a private ambulance service. It's had several issues. Grinnell is a town almost, the size of Lamar's. They have a college. They're over 10,000 people. And they have looked at our merger as maybe one, like the first option. They already have 4 or 5 full-time fire people. So they're looking at cross-training and putting the ambulance in the fire stations and running it like we are. So the consultant actually made contact with Assistant Chief Weiss, and we shared some information with them, and we actually got to see their report on the different options they looked at. And our option that we're using here, ours is number 1 for Grinnell right now, so that's kind of neat to see if they decide to go with it as a city themselves.
Other counties have tried to form some type of a program, am I right?
Yeah.
Wright County being one of them. I remember meeting in a meeting 2 years ago when they were talking, but it did not materialize.
I think, the counties and stuff look at sometimes county ambulance services, but then once they look at the cost of employees and where do you put and build buildings and buy trucks and buy equipment and who's going to be in charge and manage and all that gets a little, I think the sticker shock is what scares people at first. Anything else on that, or I got to move on to one more thing? Clark and I have been talking trains more than once as we watch these come through Lamar's, and we've had several conversations. So I've done some stuff with UP lately. The longest a train can block a crossing is 10 minutes, and that's if it's stopped. Okay, that's where I was confused. It stopped. It can block a crossing for 10 minutes. If it's moving, it can block a crossing as long as it wants to. Okay? So the problem that we run into is some of these trains now coming through Lamar's are forever. It used to be they said 100 cars. Now, if it's all fuel cars, it's called a unit train, and it can only have 100 cars. Okay, so we have a lot of those that run the BNSF line out here at West Lamar's. They carry the crude oil and some of that stuff. Those are called unit trains. There's 100 tank cars. As far as UP goes, when we start throwing grain cars in there and car transports and other hazardous materials, it'll be as long as they want. One thing I did find out from UP, and I think hopefully the media can help me out on this a little bit, is the way to get to UP is through their government affairs or publicity. Okay, they don't like stories about them on the radio or the paper if it's somewhat negative, possibly. These trains, they're looking